Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. We've talked at our table about safety, comfort, and consent both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same. So listener discretion is advised. Now, let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night, the coterie decides to stabilize venture control before displaced princes arrive to New Haven. They plan to capture Vito and turn the Zantosa over to Reiss. After calling the paranoid Rollins, Miles takes control of the prince's ghouls. Miles meets with Elsa Linden, and the two connect over music and politics. Wynn acts as medium for Romeo and Britta. Romeo discusses subliminal commands hidden in Britta's psyche and the purpose of the Shadow Crusade. Britta's amnesia deeply upsets Romeo, forcing him to banish Romeo from their presence. Johnny and Neil go gather supplies for Neil's blood magic. The Malkavian's derangement is set off by the state of his destroyed haven, and he frenzies. Johnny helps Neil through it, and the two head out. Johnny and Neil hit the road, headed up to Wallingford to perform the ritual. Route 15's kind of dark. There isn't really a lot in the way of lights over the road. Just these little reflective beacons showing you the way. The two of you ride. Johnny, what's playing?
The Stooges.
Hey, what was her name again?
Who are we talking about?
Sorry, I'm having trouble concentrating after all that. The what is it? The Abbess?
The Abbot.
Yeah. So I have the name Cynthia stuck in my head, and I know that's not right. Or is it... Wait, is it right? Is it Cheryl? It's like a C something, but like a soft C. It's not like Chris.
You're right. It is Cynthia.
Okay. Yeah, so you know what we're going to do here, right? Do you have a basic idea? I just don't want you to freak out on me.
I have no idea what you're about to do. Okay. Last time I drove you out here, there was a mention of a cow. You were drenched in blood.
Yeah, it's cow's blood. It's fine.
I guess I do have some kind of idea what's happening out here.
Yeah, so this is going to be several hours. And then after that, there's a ritual, a thing. I can help find her. I can help you find her, hunt her. It's going to get a little grotesque. But it's okay. There's a ritual that Masters of Heaven and Earth can do where a representation of a person or an object that they held is swallowed by the sorcerer, and then either they or someone else will cut it from their stomach. And until the next inauspicious night, if you possess it, it'll help guide you to your killing target.
Johnny takes one final drag on his Morley, flicks it out the window, and rolls the window up. I'm sorry. You want to try that again? We're cutting your stomach open?
Yeah, but only after the different ritual with the bull. There has to be some... I need more insight. The closer I get to approaching the veil, the more that the secrets are revealed, and the easier this becomes.
All right, let's make a deal here. I'm going to keep my worst thoughts in check and not say all the things I want to say about this. I'm going to support you in this dark magic ritual, and you're not going to explain any more of this shit to me, because I don't want to have that bouncing around in my head later tonight.
All right.
Deal?
Yeah, deal.
Just remember, the less Johnny has to know about this, the better.
Okay. I know it's been kind of a rough night. Can I ask your opinion on something?
Yeah, go for it.
I know we just came from my place, and I trying not to think about it, or I'm just gonna start freaking out again. I want to apologize to you again because for lying about all of this. And he kind of gestures towards his plastic shopping bag full of the remnants of his magical accoutrement. The reason I kept it hidden is so that I wouldn't have to be sitting here the way that I am in the ruins of my life again.
I get it, man. We all had secrets. They're secrets for a reason.
It's hard for me to not see a direct thread between Miles finding out and just the destruction of everything I care about.
Something to be aware of. You see patterns and you see the future. And you see all these things coming at you from places people don't normally look. That's got to give you some weird insight in what your day looks like. If you already know that something's coming, because you saw it in the stars or wherever you look, I imagine that messes with your head. You start to believe your own hype. Now, I'm not saying that you're making this stuff up. I'm not saying that it's strictly a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you start getting obsessed with how things are supposed to go or how they're going to go, you stop being clever enough to think of all the other options you have in the moment.
I don't do well with in-the-moment decisions.
I realize that. It makes a lot of sense because, like I said, I think you see too much of what's happening and the effects and ripples of any action you take.
But
all that's doing is making you scared that you're doing something wrong.
But there has to be...
There's no right, there's no wrong. In the moment, I realized that certain actions are going to carry all kinds of ripples and effects with them. But that's just a new world that you create, right?
I mean, sort of, but sometimes you can see a forward path and a direct through line. And I worry that we do a lot of shooting from the hip and not being aware of the consequences.
I think that's the human condition, if that applies to any of us anymore.
But the thing that's stuck in my head right now, and I'm trying, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I'm trying not to apply it to the future, and to be totally honest, I can't levy these kinds of criticisms against Miles and Wynn if they're near me. Talking about shooting from the hip. No one waited even a minute, even a day to see if I was going to wake up. And we're about, if I'm extrapolating the patterns of where I think we're extrapolating them, Miles is thinking about Praxis right now. And the reason he's doing it is, yes, because of the domain and because of orders from the Archon and to keep everyone safe. But it feels to me like the real reason he's doing it was the same thing that pissed all of us off. Is that the Prince, Roland's, blood-bound Britta and is continuing to do so. And is going to push for more. And I get it. I'm mad about it too. I don't necessarily even think that Praxis is a bad idea. Which is wild for me to say. I'm terrified of it. But we're doing that. And I can't be angry at them for doing it to me when I'm near them.
Doing what to you?
Johnny, I'm bound to them. because of short-term thinking. And my haven and all my things are destroyed and my secrets are made public and I'm on an ordeal where I have to kill someone because of short-term thinking. I understand that I can be paralyzed with choice. But there are direct lines between short-term thinking and my present condition. And I
didn't realize you were so invested in the jihad, my friend. Pulls out another Morley, pops it in his mouth.
It's funny because in some ways, long-term thinking it's just, and on other ways, I talk about the inability to not see patterns. I see them everywhere right now. I know you don't want to hear it. I know that everybody's throwing it around. Ever since I came back from Baghdad, even before that, the signs of Gehenna are everywhere. And I can't not see them, and I don't know. I'm rambling at this point.
Johnny pulls the truck over to the side of the road. He puts on the emergency lights and looks over at Neil. You are a pile of anxiety right now, my friend.
Yeah.
You got a lot of nonsense going on. What do you want to do here?
I don't know if I had a point to any of this.
Gehenna's coming? All right, what are we going to do about it?
My goal is to stay alive and with all of you as long as I can.
Well, that doesn't really sound like staying alive doesn't really sound like Gehenna, does it?
As long as I can, being the operating word there.
All right.
And
It sounds like there's some resentment about the bonds you have to Wynn and Miles. What do you want to do about that?
There's nothing to do about that. I can't be apart from them. I can't. It's just reality. I'm not even...
You asking me to do anything about that?
No, I'm not. Look, I care about everybody in this coterie. I do, and that includes you. Just There's been a lot of short-term thinking recently, and I'm paying the price for it, and I don't want to see you do the same thing.
I appreciate you looking out for me and for the rest of us and trying to keep us aware of the bigger picture. But I feel like you're getting lost in that bigger picture yourself. It's doing more damage than it's doing good for you.
There's not really a whole lot more damage to be done right now.
I think that there's plenty more damage that can be done. There's still plenty of people from your life that could be stripped away.
That's hard for me to see right now.
Nara's still alive, isn't she?
I don't know. I haven't seen her. I'm not allowed to.
All right. So I'm supposed to take your visions for their face value, and you're not going to trust me that we have her safe with Weathers?
No, that's not what I meant. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Sometimes I feel a little clearer-headed when I'm not near her, too. I get it.
Speaking of clear-headed, that leaf you grew in your basement, is that something that helps you out with all of this?
It's required, and I have so little of it left.
Johnny, I think, I was reminded, actually stuffed some of that away in his jacket from the raid, so he actually reaches into his jacket and pulls out a significant amount of Khalif that was saved during the Haven raid.
Neil looks over, surprised. Where did you get that?
It's from your Haven.
That's what they tried to take?
And they got away with a lot of stuff.
He holds his hand out to...
passes it over.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair, like we were saying, there is more to lose here, and he starts to roll down the window and go to reach for it, like he's going to throw it out the window.
No. Come on.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure. Come on.
All right.
Just... I needed to help, okay? And all I'm doing is to help. I don't know. I'm rambling, Johnny. You're going to see me do some things here, and I'm going to ask of you the impossible the same way that I asked Wynn and Britta last time. Just try not to look at me different, if you can.
I don't think the way I look at you is going to change, Neil.
I'm not sure I like how you said that.
He gives you a knowing glance, like, yeah, exactly.
Look, you got stakes in everything that's going on, too. I know you do. Do you want to talk about it? Because that's part of the reason I want to bring this up now. Miles told Arabella that I could do all this. Arabella was hanging out with Tremere. And then a day later, the Tremere are essentially blood hunting me as my secrets are revealed. Short-term thinking is going to get the people and the things we care about destroyed, and I don't want to see that happen to you. Do you want to talk about it?
The people that I care about, they're already caught up in this bullshit.
I saw.
At some point, this whole fucking situation is going to come collecting. It's going to take them, and I'll probably follow, or you won't recognize the Johnny Saxon that sticks around. Simple as that.
You need help disappearing. Let me know.
Oh, I don't think you catch my drift.
No, I know what you mean. I meant the first one, not the second.
Yeah, on the first one, no one's gonna have to worry about me if that's the case.
Let's try not to have that happen then.
I don't think there's a whole lot of point in worrying about it.
Oh, who are you talking to? Hey, last time we were really focused on Jane and confusion and trying to find advantages and missions, but if I could offer a little piece of human-to-human connection advice, I know that's weird coming from me, but I would call or send a text with no ulterior motive, not thinking about Jane if you can manage it, just to reach out and say hi. Masquerade's already blown when it comes to that anyways. No more harm can be done from it on a grand scale. If you look at a guy who looks at futures, who looks and extrapolates patterns of behavior, and...
I left a note. She's got my number.
That's just passing the ball. Call, Johnny. Not now. You don't have to, but you're going to have a couple of hours while we're hanging out. Just think about it.
I'll think about it.
Miles and Wynn, the two of you have assembled the coterie to meet outside of Wynn's haven in the woods by the shack to go over and finalize your plan to strike against Vito Zantosa. Each of you arrives kind of one at a time, milling in, and once everyone is assembled, Miles gets right to it.
All right, I've assembled some extra gear for all of you. Armor to replace anything that may or may not be damaged. But this should be hopefully a mostly simple stake and grab is the hope. We know it probably won't go that way, but everyone take some stakes. Johnny, you're literally and figuratively on point on this.
Absolutely. Johnny actually will, as you're kind of describing the gear that you've assembled, he actually opens up the back of the black Suburban that we're taking for the mission. I'm sure it's some other kind of black, but he only knows it as just regular black Suburban, and opens up the back and shows off all the gear that Miles has assembled and starts passing things out.
Britta is going to bring Mr. Zantosa to us using the powers of presence.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it worked what I tried when we ran into the killing spree. I was thinking that I could do that again just to make his life a bit more difficult, if that's okay with you guys. I know that it's kind of uncomfortable to...
I think as long as we're doing what you want us to be doing, it's not going to make our lives any more difficult.
Hey, if it makes it a little bit more likely that all of us are going to survive this, you know what? Fine. It's permission and all that.
I mean, it doesn't affect me, so...
Okay.
There's one more thing, talking about all of us. Well, I guess not us, but everyone involved surviving this. Britta takes out from her pocket. She has acquired some handcuffs, and she shows them to the group.
I think he'll just be able to get out of those. He can turn into a blood monster.
Well, I'm a little worried that I can get out of them too, but they're actually for me.
Are you going for a damsel in distress angle?
Well, I thought that might maybe convince him, but I was thinking more about the fact that, well, the last time we did something like this, I tried to blow his brains out.
It's a good point.
That's
a very good point.
Really true.
Miles narrows his eyes but nods and we can do that if you'd like. You should still keep some sort of weapon on you, just in case. But not...
Maybe a knife?
Right.
Or a stake?
That'll give us time at least.
I'll keep a stake on me. Maybe a knife, but I think I'm probably too good with a gun.
How are you with your fists?
It's really not my specialty.
She's passable, but...
I have a set of extra brass knuckles, if you think that would be helpful.
I mean, a gun shouldn't finish him now that he's embraced.
Depends on how much accumulated damage, but... No, that's for best. Keep a little bit of something to keep you armed. It just makes me feel better that we're not leaving you completely unprepared, but...
I'll keep a knife and the stake, and we'll leave my guns in the car. And maybe this way, I mean, yeah, damsel in distress a little bit. Maybe he'll be occupied for a bit while you guys bag him, trying to help or trying to do whatever.
Right. Me and Wynn will be assisting Johnny with the staking and laying some hurt into Vito, regardless if the staking doesn't work for whatever weird body magic that he might have. We want to take him alive, but we should have multiple methods of doing so. So we're trying to damage him without killing him. So Wynn, that means no claws.
Yeah.
Neil, that leaves you on support.
I can try and sort of, depending on how much he can move his body around, I can try and at least lock him down. And if he can turn into blood and things like that, I can at least try and turn some of his blood into water, like move him down a little bit, make it a little bit tougher for him to act out.
Sounds good.
Considering the fact that he's probably got a lot of potence and celerity, he's going to be burning like a hot furnace. So if you can remove some of the fuel for that fire, good idea.
It means I have to be right up in his face, but we can give it a shot.
Go for it.
Ambush, right? I can help us with all of us being hidden, staying hidden.
You'd mentioned things like that before. I was hoping that you could do something like that again.
Yeah. At least the three of you. Yeah.
And can you call upon the hunting moon thing again?
I can. Yeah. If we get to the site, like half hour early before we want Vito to be around, before we call him, then I can make sure we're all set.
Sounds good. And that's the gist. Be prepared for any weird tricks, and that this may not go the way we want, but our goal is to take him alive.
Where are we thinking about having this whole thing go down? You want to use that same warehouse district?
Yeah, it's pretty abandoned. Doesn't see a lot of traffic. Allows us to be loud without drawing too much attention. And weirdly, it went well last time.
You're talking about over at Elf Storag by the water?
Yeah.
You worried about the Setites knowing about this? They might still have eyes in that location, having been jumped there once before.
Right, but currently we're working for the Setites, so I'm not worried for them coming for us yet.
That's true. We are supposed to be doing a job for them right now.
If they get the chance to double cross us, they might not be able to pass it up.
I think they might try to double cross us when we go to accomplish the thing that they want us to do. Would be my move if we were playing that game.
You know the workings of the Setites better than any of us, so I'll trust you on that.
But, as always, keep our eyes out.
What's the plan if he turns one of us into a hideous beast again?
I'm going to try to dominate.
Okay.
Or if it's not you, Quell.
Oh, yeah, if it's not me.
Right.
Hey, here's the question. The blessings of the Hunter's Moon make it a little bit more difficult. Strengthen your will against things like dominate. Should we maybe not do that if we're worried? We don't want to make our contingency plans harder on ourselves. At least for Wynn. I don't know.
When you were turned into a monster, do you remember if there was any particular resistance to it? Were you fighting it? And
I mean, I fought it, but it was sort of like trying to fight a tidal wave.
It seemed like you were in frenzy.
I was trying to frenzy. I don't think I actually...
You managed to keep yourself in check?
I think I kept myself in check.
Are you planning on doing this ritual for this event, Neil?
Yeah.
I believe she was under the effects of it last time.
Then I say that you get us ready to alpha strike him, and we don't worry about being on the back foot.
Okay. That's what I needed to hear.
I like that plan.
Let me just check everybody. Johnny does a walk around and make sure everybody's armor is put on correctly. Kind of just does a double check.
Wynn has 2 stakes through her belt loops with the points facing backwards. That way if she bends over, she doesn't impale herself.
Britta has the leather jacket that Johnny gave her on over the armor, partly to conceal it, and partly it almost seems like she pulled the armor up a little bit too much, as if remembering the gargoyle incident, so he can actually adjust it down a bit.
Neil's body armor is just way too loose on him. Like every time he puts on body armor and forgets to tighten the straps or does not have the chest for how it's like the standard default is set.
Johnny definitely gives you an extra tightening to make sure it's in spot.
We're going to those bro tightenings where he's like...
Kinda.
Miles is going in his usual battle guard, but he's a little less put together than he has previously. Things are a little sloppier, just a little off from previous times. Not everything's at the perfect angles and everything else, but he still has the katana and the gun and some stakes in his long black leather trench coat.
Johnny shores up any of the adjustments that he can see on the armor, gives everybody a meaty slap on the shoulder, and nods to Miles. We're ready to go.
Let's roll out, gang. It's time to put this problem to rest.
It's a pretty short trip to get to the warehouse. When you do, there's almost a bit of nostalgia that hits you as you arrive and see one of the walls has like a huge hole in it. It looks like this place has seen some unusual trouble.
I don't know why I thought they would fix that.
I don't think anybody cares about this property enough to fix the wall.
There were holes in the roof last time. I mean, I don't even know who owns this place.
Britta goes to look for something to attach herself in the handcuffs to.
Johnny takes a look at
pipes pretty quickly.
Johnny takes a look at the ground, some of the footprints and things that have been moved around, and taps Neil and says, "Hey, can you put your eyes on these footprints and see if there's anything weird about these patterns?"
I mean, yeah, if you need me to.
Just to be on the safe side.
All right. If I get lost in this, I don't know if we talked about this before. I mean, we're on a time schedule, so slap me out of it, okay?
Johnny kind of gives you a quizzical look, but nods.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just try and get a sense of what's been going on here.
Roll me Eyes of Chaos.
What diff do you want?
Difficulty 6.
4 successes.
You space out a little bit, walking the premises and examining all the little connections that people can't quite see. And examining it, you start to get the feeling of this being this place of hopelessness, only visited by rats and those who are afraid and nowhere left to go. And you quickly come to the understanding that there is no supernatural events associated with this place that you yourselves did not cause. But there are people who come here. And when they do, it's because this environment is the sort of environment that they feel connected to. Like this is the kind of life and place they deserve.
Neil walks around the grounds and sees all of that, and then comes back to Johnny and goes...
When he comes back to Johnny, he notices that Johnny, who wasn't smoking a cigarette when you started looking at them, is about 3/4 of the way through a Morley, and the time that you spent walking around passed a little bit faster than you might have thought.
Yeah, this place is fine. There's nothing wrong. But, like, very clearly, the tone of, like, yeah, this place is fine does not match the, like, sort of just absolutely depressed look on Neil's face.
Johnny kind of gives you a knowing glance, like, yeah, there's more to what you saw than you're letting on, but he kind of just nods along, and that's good enough for me.
Okay, I have to do some rituals here. I have a little bit of time, so... Neil goes and pulls out of the trunk this, like, gauzy black, kind of halfway between, like, a hoodie and a robe that just comes down to about mid-thigh when it's hanging on him. Comes a little bit past his fingers. There's, like, holes at the ends of the sleeves where his fingers don't quite match the end.
Is it a Snuggie?
And pulls up No. It's
I
open.
mean, you described a Snuggie.
It's open in the front, not the back.
Okay.
Pulls the hood up over his head, and then just walks into the middle of the thing, kind of right in the middle where around, I guess, Britta's looking for, like, places to chain herself, and starts pulling a bunch of weird ritual components out of his bag, like ashes and a weird shard of a broken mirror and a bunch of stuff like that, and just starts going, doing things, occasionally beckoning people over to, like, come closer and then sort of dismissing them.
Are there any final preparations that are made?
What's the floor made of?
Concrete.
Okay.
Just the fact that Britta will be readying to use Majesty when Vito's within range after she has chained herself appropriately.
Wynn will go over and check Britta's handcuffs.
Britta kind of, like, holds up her wrists as much as she can, but there's that little clank against the pipe so that Wynn can look at it.
Pipe seems secure enough to hold her.
How are the cuffs secure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can press down on them to make sure they click in. You probably dealt enough with cops at one point or another that you're aware of it.
Or handcuffs.
Or handcuffs.
Wynn was arrested for protests at some point in the 60s.
Oh, definitely. Woodstock?
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm checking around the perimeter and seeing, is there drains in these floors here?
Yes.
Okay. Like a ton of them, or just like
Yeah, they're pretty well spaced, and
I don't suppose, like, putting a tarp down would help that, would they?
He could probably flow under it. I was thinking of plugging it with, like, mud or something.
I don't think it's going to work. I think we should just open up our sight lines.
Let's try and get as much as possible. So, tell you what, who are we looking for? Who's calling the blessing of the moon?
What do you mean by calling someone for the moon?
Who wants the moon's blessing?
I'm thinking that Johnny and Wynn should take it.
Johnny and Wynn.
I was thinking Johnny and Britta.
I'm not gonna be able to do too much chained here, I don't think. So maybe you two.
Okay. I'll need some of your vitae.
Second verse, same as the first. Mm-hmm. She holds out her arm and opens her hand to receive a knife.
Johnny pauses for a second, giving you a hard stare. Reaches down and grabs his boot knife, pulls it out, and kind of puts the blade over to Wynn so she can open herself.
Wynn takes the knife and opens a vein with practiced.
Mm-hmm. Neil catches the spilling blood in a bowl.
Johnny slowly brings the knife back over to himself, cuts it open his palm, and the whole time not breaking eye contact from you, gives a point of his vitae into the bowl as well.
Neil watches Johnny do that, making eye contact back, just very clearly understanding what it's taking the Bruja to try and be okay with this after everything that they've gone through. All right, so the three of us have 6 additional willpower for tonight.
Very nice.
This is a good roll.
The whole time while we're kind of prepping the site, Johnny keeps on floating around everybody and making sure their gear is double-checked and whispering an encouraging word here or there, giving everybody kind of reassuring nods and stares, and he will spend a point of willpower to kind of bolster everybody with the effects of Ironheart.
What does that give us?
It's a willpower per person you're affecting.
So that would be 4 willpower?
Yes.
Beautiful, I spend it.
Okay.
Oh.
Ooh, that kind of combos nicely.
What is the effect of Ironheart?
So, the difficulty to manipulate you through the means of disciplines is increased by 1 for the duration of the scene.
It's dominate, presence, and mind-affecting thaumaturgy.
I'm going to utilize those that aren't busy doing rituals and stuff like that immediately to clear the space around so that we have a bigger sight lines in and around the area.
Sounds good.
So as the time is coming, Neil, who's been just sort of sitting in the middle, chanting and occasionally pulling people over towards him to like mark them with ash, whispering occult stuff to himself, eventually looks up and goes, okay, everybody know where they're supposed to stand?
Wynn gives a nod.
Same.
While you're under these effects, you'll be vanished from sight like I often am. But that also means same rules apply, so don't stand in any spotlights, don't knock anything over. Still try and hide like normal. We don't know what Vito can see, but so long as you can move like me, you'll remain out of sight, so that when Britta calls him, we can all just jump out of the shadows and get him before he knows what's happening. Understood?
Understood.
Got it.
Okay. Britta, when everyone disappears, I'll be the last one to go. I'll give you the nod, and then it's time to go, okay?
I'll call him then.
And Neil finishes an incantation, and to the 3 of you, nothing really seems to change. Neil certainly doesn't disappear. Britta, the 3 of them vanish from sight.
You see Britta's eyes adjust to the sudden lack of you, but she knew it would happen, so she moves on relatively quickly and looks to Neil.
Neil is still sitting in the middle, and then he pulls out that mirror shard that he had set aside, like slowly cleans up his ritual things, continues to chant for a few more minutes, and then sort of stands up and adjusts his back, but is holding that mirror shard in his left hand, kind of like a dagger, with a reflective surface looking at himself, and then goes, okay, let's do this. And then steps behind a pillar, or like a series of like some old boxes, and doesn't appear to come back out.
Britta takes a moment just to be sure that everyone has disappeared. And then another moment because everyone has disappeared, and it gives that illusion of being alone in the space, even though that she knows that she's got her coterie. She takes that strange breath, the one that you don't need, but you still have that impulse to take in, and goes to summon Vito.
Okay, give me a roll.
I spend a blood for summon. If the character used presence successfully on the target in the past, this difficulty drops to 4. All right,
It's like the minimal difficulty.
I will be spending a willpower on this regardless.
Okay.
Johnny starts spending blood to swell his dexterity.
Wynn also starts spending for all of her physicals.
You don't like the fact that I'm getting swole?
Just swell for
His
dexterity.
muscles swell and throb, ready for combat.
It was just, I expected you to say strength, and then you said dexterity. It just threw me off.
Neil actually pumps his stamina for once. Only a little, though. The shit-eating grin on Rebecca's face right now.
It's not even... There's just the part of me that's like, oh, this is working too well again.
I can't see it
You
because of the
can't
pop
help
filter,
but
but I know
super
it's
crit
there.
on Vito every time.
8. 9 because of willpower.
I think 9 is like he fucking busts ass to get here.
Yeah, he's Bullet
immediately.
Bill getting there.
9's not on the chart. 5 successes means that the subject rushes to the vampire doing anything to get to her.
So you use it, and there's a silence between everyone that lasts upwards of 10 minutes. And then this grotesque turkey vulture descends from a hole in the roof, and with its wings flapping, it lands right on the pipe next to you. And the turkey vulture changes shape.
Wow.
And over the course of a moment, there is a man in obscenely tight leather pants with a fishnet shirt and a leather jacket over it that is covered in 2-inch spikes. He's wearing exceptionally well-applied makeup and has long boots that come to points. And he leans against the pipe with his arm kind of crossing over yours, invading your personal space instantly. And you can hear Vito breathing your scent in. I have waited for you to call me. And I hope that you taste the way you smell. And he does this thing with his tongue that sends shivers down your spine.
As he lands and he does all of that, Britta is just kind of freezing deer in headlights. She's doe-eyed as usual, but that is not to her favor in this moment. But she seals her resolve. That thing with the tongue is just so gross that it breaks her out of it to jump into majesty.
Gorgeous and afraid. Just the way I like them.
I'm going to stab a stake right through his ribcage directly into his heart.
Okay, that's initiative. I think.
I think we're here.
Yep.
We've had enough of Vito. That's enough.
Yes.
Forever.
I hope you brought your gun.
Especially for you, I did not.
Britta. Vito Zantosa has a 21. Is anyone topping that?
Oh,
No.
I thought you were going to say, is anyone topping Vito Zantosa?
I'm a 13.
It's really uncomfortable.
I'm an 8.
I'm a 10.
He has a 10 on his courage check, and with his actions, he leans down and traces his tongue along the length of your hand and forearm, the part that's cuffed. I can taste your goosebumps. It is like you are alive. So who's next? Britta, your move.
I'm sorry, but I just have a technical question. I don't know.
What is your technical question?
How does he get
Well,
his
I
tongue
do
under the
have
cuffs?
Blush of Health, so I don't know if that actually functions to give you goosebumps, and I want to know now.
What's your humanity?
My humanity right now is a 6.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
you're on humanity.
So he traces his tongue.
His hips move suggestively.
I'm going to stutter out the words, I'm gonna need some help as I pop my majesty.
Yes, my kitten.
So there's one more willpower spent. And as he calls her his kitten, every disgusting word somehow seems reflective of everything that makes Britta appealing. Nothing that he can do once the majesty is up can tear down the way that Britta projects herself into the room and the way that people just now do what she wants.
My monument of sin. All right, who's next?
I'm going to hold until Johnny strikes, and then I'm going to try to use Dominate on him.
Okay.
I think Johnny's up next at a 13. Leaping out of the obfuscation, he will plunge a stake directly into where he assumes the heart is.
My little bunny.
Johnny will spend one of his gifted willpower to drive a stake through him.
Let's see if you can silence him.
6 successes to stake.
5 successes will roll over into damage. Vito has an additional 2 dice of soak against staking attempts because of the bones he has wrapped around his heart.
Johnny will spend a point of blood to gain 5 automatic successes on damage.
Daddy, you too?
8 damage.
He has 2 successes on soak and will take 6 levels of lethal damage. And just as his hand is reaching for Britta's hair so he can run his fingers through across her scalp, he freezes in place.
I'm not your kitten. And she wipes her arm off as well as she can, a little impeded by the cuffs, but is attempting to scoot away.
It sticks.
Johnny leans down to the staked Vito and hisses into his ear. I'm gonna burn down that house and that thing in the basement.
Please don't antagonize him.
Wynn quietly doesn't really try. She attempts to try and stay concealed, but she definitely empties out her little messenger bag that she carries everywhere with her and just throws it over his head and secures it.
Hey, Britta, Neil sort of steps out from behind. I feel like you should be able to kick this man in the head. But if we let you out of the cuffs, are you going to go full
We're
Manchurian
not
candidate
risking
here?
anything.
Okay, so I guess we didn't talk about this part of the plan then.
Right.
You going to take him away and some of us stay here with Britta until he's gone?
We're going to we will take...
I like the sound of that idea. Mm-hmm. I'll load him up in the Suburban, and Miles and I will move him to a secure location. The three of you guys either stay here, or you can head out on foot.
We'll head out.
We're going straight to the chantry.
Britta, what do you...
Before you go, actually, Johnny, could you, And she lifts up the cuffs. I don't know if we do this now or once you guys have gotten him wherever you
I think
are
Neil
going.
and I can get you out of them. I would rather...
Yeah, I can
safe
get you out
than
of the
sorry.
cuffs. Cuffs are nothing.
Are you still projecting majesty?
Ooh, good question.
I forgot to narrate stopping.
When you lift up the cuffs, Johnny nods and just reflexively reaches up and just snaps the cuffs apart.
With that snap, Britta realizes and it instantly turns off majesty. Okay, Wynn, could you...
Yep. Wynn reaches out and kind of bear hugs Britta, pinning her arms at her sides.
Johnny kind of blinks and looks at his hand a little bit and kind of realizes what happens and kind of just ashamedly scoops up Vito and kind of starts heading out towards the Suburban.
I'm sorry, Johnny, that was my fault.
We're all learning, kid. Don't worry about it.
No, this is a weird, bad day.
Let's keep it all calm. We're going to go take this, and we're going to offload him at the chantry right now. I'm going to call on the way.
All right. Call us after.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, go.
Johnny, you drive, and I'll watch him.
Johnny puts him in the back, pops him orally into his mouth, lights up, and jumps in the driver's seat and starts driving once Miles is also loaded up and has eyes on Vito.
Kind of meekly from inside the hug, Britta looks at her wrists and says, actually, to get these off, I think I still probably will need some help.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll take care of that once the vehicle's gone.
You're good. Britta, are you okay? That was
not cool.
That was way grosser than I expected it to be. I don't know what the hell I was expecting, but that was...
Not that.
Not that.
Was about as gross as I was expecting, to be honest.
Then I'm sorry. You know you could have brought that up when we were talking about this. Like, I know that we need him for politics and stuff, but also, there's a big part of me that thinks maybe you should just shoot that guy right in the fucking head.
Or the balls.
Listen, you might not like it, but part of what I am being Toreador is taking the things about myself that other people could use to hurt me, to victimize me, or to view me in that kind of way without me wanting that, and making that my own and making it my own power. If you need something from me and I can use that, then that's what I want to do. And yeah, he's a lot, but I knew I had you guys here to back me up.
When Britta talks about using the things that people want, Neil gets this look on his face that's really sad, but in a very, personally understanding way. Nods at her. Yeah, I get all that.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to do it.
Also, if it makes you feel any better, you scare the shit out of me, maybe more than anybody else does, in a good way. So that's...
Why?
You can make us do what you want.
No, that's not even what I was talking about. Miles
That's what scares me.
Well, Miles can do the same thing. That's, you can use that in yourself, for sure. But also, if we were going to war with somebody, I'd rather have you there with a gun in your hand than most other people that I know.
I know you guys wouldn't make me, and well, I realize that I don't remember a lot, but you guys have made it so clear that you would protect me more than I would protect myself. And that matters a lot to me. That matters that you guys have shown that you guys want me to protect that in myself. I mean, it showed through right when I was new here, and maybe it's not the same, but you see what I'm facing when it comes to this kind of thing, and yeah, I know that you respect that you wouldn't make me do something like this, and I'm glad that I can help.
There's a noble history of women weaponizing femininity to fuck up men, and if you want to be part of that proud tradition, I am here to back you up 100%.
Neil takes a couple steps back and nods, just recognizing a moment when Wynn has way more ability to talk here than he does.
It's one of the best weapons I've got, right?
You have some pretty good shit in your arsenal, kid.
Hey, Wynn.
Yeah,
Thanks for the hug.
it's one of my unsung abilities.
Miles, it's time for you to make the delivery. You're taking Johnny with you?
Yes.
All right, so you're going to hit the road, and the trip affords a few moments of conversation before the meeting itself. Where are you headed?
Towards the Chantry, I'll make a brief call before then just to confirm where he would want this particular.
Yeah, it would be the Chantry.
Yep.
So you're telling him that you're dropping off Vito Zantosa?
I kind of have. I feel like I kind of have to. I want to be prepared. I would like to also surprise him, but I feel like this is a bad time for him.
Surprise Zantosa is the worst Zantosa.
There's options.
He would disagree. He would disagree.
Yeah, when you call him, he's like, yes, bring him immediately.
Johnny is swapped out for a more respectable vehicle for you to arrive to the Chantry in, but has ported over his tape collection and is now listening to the Cramps.
So I'm kind of sitting there back there with basically a sword partially unsheathed, just making sure he doesn't move, and I with a back to Johnny as he's driving. This is going to be particularly hard.
Why's that?
Because of all the things that Reiss has done. I don't mean it hard for you. I mean hard for me.
I realize I'm just trying to get you to vocalize it because of what he did to Marcos.
Yes. So, if possible, maybe stay in my line of sight. More than likely, I will be looking to you than I will be to Reiss.
I understand. Do you want me to interject at any point if things start to get out of hand?
It hopefully will not come to that. It should be a more civilized conversation. If I lose control, then yes, interject.
Miles, remember this. We are going to kill this motherfucker at some point. Not tonight. Maybe not anytime soon. But this is the first step on the path for when we turn him to ash.
I have not forgotten.
So remember, this opening skirmish is just words, and the best thing that he can do to get the better of us is to provoke you outside of having a conversation.
Right.
Having a conversation in this case is vengeance.
I cannot think of one person who's done more direct harm to this coterie than this man. Man seems like a strong word, but I am preparing myself. I just want you to be aware.
I got your back on this.
It also means no getting into fights with Reiss either.
I'm gonna be cool as a cucumber, my friend.
As that promise is made, the two of you arrive.
As that promise is made, Johnny will spend a point of willpower to extend the benefits of Ironheart. So that puts you at +1 difficulty for manipulations like Dominate and...
Dominate, Presence, and Mind-Affecting Thaumaturgy.
Thank you.
From that fuck.
From that fuck.
Yeah.
From that fuck. Wait. Let's stop at the Duncan before we get there.
No, Johnny. Duncan bad.
Wait, Duncan's a bad spot.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. That is a different quest.
Well, Wynn's not here, so it probably can't go that bad.
It could go worse.
Shots fired, Saxon.
I'm just saying, like when you and I go places, it's a good time. Just a fucking shit show. That's all.
The pattern has been noticed.
Oh yeah.
Miles, the last time you were here, it was to have a conversation with Reiss about actually learning Hermetic Thaumaturgy.
Felt more like an ambush.
Since then, the relationship has crumbled to ash, but maybe you can rebuild something. As you approach this little building, mostly stone, very old, probably one of New Haven's oldest buildings, the doors sort of just open for you.
I'm having Johnny carry Zantosa, and I will lead us into the Chantry.
Johnny has the staked form of Zantosa cradled in his arms and is wearing his leather jacket, a pair of sunglasses, and has his boot knife tucked away. Keeps a good paces back from Miles, just to give him that air of Ventru authority that looks good on him.
Upon crossing the threshold into this place, it feels like entering a haunted home. There is this emptiness to it. Everything is specifically organized. Every wall, the paint, the tomes that are like laid out for visitors to see. Everything is a specific choice. You see a great deal of writings in Latin, and to a sharp mind, you sort of kind of piece together that none of these things are the true secrets of Hermetic thaumaturgy, but are works that are simply there to be shown off to guests.
Art, almost.
Almost.
Not quite.
Johnny gets a free hand out from under Zantosa and reaches into his pocket to pull out a Morley, pops it in his mouth, and then looks over at you. You think this would be bad taste?
Yes.
Johnny lights up his Zippo. Good. And takes a nice big long drag in his cigarette.
Fantastic.
Reiss enters, seems to notice Johnny smoking, and the cherry goes out.
Oh, I'm sorry, is there no smoking in here? He winks at Reiss and tucks it back into his pocket.
I was unaware you would be bringing your sidekick. Miles, I must ask, why are you here? And why have you brought me Mr. Zantosa?
Reiss, there have been many troubled waters between us in recent months.
I'm sorry to hear you've struggled. How might I help you?
Well, there has been a change of the game, and it's brought to my attention that the city is going to be playing host to a number of important individuals. So I thought it best to repair the relationship between us by bringing you the Zantosa and by bringing you this information after I had received it.
Explain this information to me. Who's coming?
You've heard of the Sabbat attacks in the south?
Yes, I have.
Well, it turns out that a number of Archons have been able to evacuate individuals, specifically the princes of these domains. These displaced princes will be heading to New Haven.
He gives this look like a few things are clicking into place. I was reached out to him by an agent of your sire. It would seem that he has designs upon New York and seeks the aid of the Tremere in addressing some of the hurdles that he faces.
My sire spoke well of the effort and help that you've provided to him and the Justicarian.
And you are here and have been working in support of your sire.
Since the beginning.
I see.
But these moves weren't ordered by him. He has not given me directives to do this. This is me reaching out.
To what end, Miles?
To come to an understanding. We do not always see eye to eye, but we do need to come together. These princes will be looking for cracks in our court. They're going to look to force their way in here and take it over.
And they will seek allies.
They will seek allies.
And why should I side with you over them?
I have found that I can come to an understanding. My sire has explained a few things that I had missed, and that together we can be stronger than any of these outsiders. They don't understand this place, and we understand each other, at least a little. And also allies can be temporary.
Yes, they can.
There's no saying that these princes will not get the power they seek and remove those that may trouble them in the future.
I suppose what I'm asking, Miles, is what makes you different. What you have spoken of is true of you.
Because I can keep my word. And I always have.
Very well. What is your strategy for when they arrive?
To present a united front, a strong court for when they appear here. To pull this domain together with the will and the power that I have. To present an unbreachable defense. Or at least one that I hope is stronger than our current one.
I see. Very well, I cannot deny that your acquisition of Vito Zantosa not once but twice is impressive. You have my interest. Do not squander it, Miles.
I hear you.
He snaps his fingers, and a hulking, lumbering monster with wings, sharp fangs, pointed ears, and a body of stone enters the room. And you immediately recognize it to be the very same gargoyle that you found in Salem. And it enters. It does not speak. Reiss points to Vito, and the hulking monster makes its way over to collect it.
Johnny kind of gives a knowing grin at the gargoyle and lifts up Vito so that it can be easily plucked from his hands.
The gargoyle picks him up, holding Vito by his belt.
Funny running into you at another chantry.
He doesn't speak. He doesn't actually seem to quite have the sort of awareness needed for that kind of conversation.
I look over at Reiss. I don't think I've seen that around here before.
You don't exactly visit often. Bring Vito to the lab. The monster nods and immediately complies, wandering off with the prisoner.
His heart is still in the right spot, but there seems to have been bone growths around it. Just for your future knowledge.
For what is in store for him, his physiology will make little difference. He kind of gives this knowing smile. Well, I thank you for your visit, Miles, and I look forward to working with you and seeing what the future holds for you and your agents.
I will see you, Reiss.
He gestures, and the doors open.
I did basically just turn on the heel and just start walking out.
Johnny will follow behind.
The doors shut behind you, and you're outside again, under the cool night sky.
I move towards the car and get in the passenger side.
Johnny walks over, just kind of pokes his head into the driver's side to look at you. That seemed like it went less than ideal.
It went about as well as I thought.
Do you think that's enough to let him know what your plans are?
It's enough for him to hopefully be on board. Let's get in the car if you want to discuss any more.
All right. Johnny mounts up, pulls out the cigarette that had been prematurely put out, lights it up, and then heads out.
After about 2 minutes of driving, I punch the dashboard about as hard as I can.
Does it buckle with potence?
No. It's actually not particularly hard overall. Right.
If you want me to teach you how to smash stuff properly, you let me know.
Quite possibly, but been working on a number of abilities that I might need in the future.
Hopefully your conversation with Elsa went better than that.
Much better.
So, what's the next part of our play?
It is as I warned you. You're betraying everything you believe in. Reiss is your ally. You traded your closest friend, the man you knew in life, the man who was damned to hell and forsook his own family. You replaced him with the man who killed him.
Not replaced, see.
We'll see. You said you'd stick to all of these morals, these ethics you claim to have, but every time they've pushed, you have faltered. You could take Praxis right now. You could be Prince, but instead you placate your enemies. You replacing Upton Rollins with you is no change at all. You're the same man.
Johnny gives a look over at you, kind of concerned. You alright? You with me?
Having a conversation.
Oh.
Johnny, though Miles seems to be keeping it together, his fangs are visible in his mouth.
Johnny, what is the cost of pride?
The cost of pride?
I have a few paths forward.
God damn. Later tonight, Wynn's gonna want to go for a drive and ask me about existential things.
What do you mean?
Nothing. Look, pride is... I feel like pride is for something that is for people who haven't hit bottom before.
So there's no value in it?
You're gonna have to give me more than just this, ma'am. What exactly are you asking me here?
When this goes down, when we deal with Rollins.
Yeah.
We have a unique opportunity here. Rollins has made himself incredibly vulnerable in his own haven.
How so?
He sent all of his ghouls away.
What? Why would he do something like that?
Because of whatever the Malkavian prince did to him. The paranoia has driven him to push everyone away. He is now ordering in food, apparently. I scooped up the ghouls.
So you basically have the back door to his haven.
Yes.
So when you're talking about the cost of pride, you're talking about whether you confront Upton as the honor of your clan would dictate,
I don't know,
or whether you just sneak in the back and put a stake into his chest while he's sleeping.
Very much like it less when you put it that way. But, yes, one way is my preferred way. I'd much rather make my claim, make my argument as it is and finish it with 2 men standing.
I will point this out. As incompetent of a prince as Upton Rollins is, there is a reason he is still prince in this domain. And that is because he is old, and his ability with his disciplines is terrifying.
The danger isn't to myself necessarily. I'm willing to risk that.
What are the odds?
With some preparation, still somewhat in his favor. He's not much of a fighter as far as I can tell.
Odds in his favor doesn't sound like a risk that I think we should ever think about taking.
Right. So
if he snaps his fingers and suddenly I stop and start dancing to his tune, who knows what the hell he might do.
Right. So that means embracing things that I have not wanted to do in a lot of ways.
So embracing things you don't want to do means simply taking care of this the smart way.
Smart way is one way to put it, but it's going to involve me most likely subsuming another's will and taking over their body.
Whose will?
Probably a ghoul.
We're talking about killing the prince, and you're concerned about possessing one of his ghouls?
Yes.
You realize if we kill the prince, his ghouls are pretty much all but forfeit anyways, right?
I would try to maintain their services.
Well, that means that you would be bonding them to you.
I would ask.
Well, that's not really a question, because if they say no, they're dead.
They can choose that route. That's correct. I don't have another offering to them. I can't cure them.
I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just saying that I'm pointing out that possessing them in this moment of going after the prince is not completely different from taking them over after he's dead.
I get it. It's a different line, though.
You got some weird lines, my friend.
When it comes to using the powers of dominate, yes.
So your thought is we just possess one of his ghouls, go in during the day?
That would be my first thought.
It's going to be tough, you know that, right?
I was hoping to see if Wynn would allow chaps to run back up on that. But yes, it'll still be difficult. But it's possibly the safest route. Talk with Neil, see if he's getting any other precautions we should be worried for. Then stake him, and then I would come as myself at early night.
I see. Stake him during the day, and then arrive a little bit later once you've woken up to finish things off.
Yeah.
Miles, if we do this, there are a million other risks and calls to action that we're going to have to take and go through after we've put a stake through Upton Rollins' heart.
True.
If you want to start pushing your luck before that, for your pride, I get it. But I think we should take all the advantages we can. Either way, I got your back.
All right. But we have to keep this, unfortunately, somewhat hidden.
The less people that know about this, the better.
I also mean within our circle.
Oh, I understand.
All right. So, I've started putting things in motion for it. We need to deliver this victory over the abbot. That'll be the easiest way to get the rest of the court, is a favorable opinion.
I might also want to call a rant for the Brujah. Right now, there is no Brujah primogen. Weather's nominally left it in my hands, but a conversation that we had on his way out of the domain does not give me that position, in my opinion. And I can get damn well assure that it does not give me the position in the eyes of the rest of the clan of the city. We might want to hammer that out before we make a move.
Whatever may work, but removing Rollins as an obstacle will make it easier to not have to do what he wanted to Amara. And it may sway some of that opinion back.
All I'm saying is that if we're going to throw the court into flux, let's have as many of the pieces of the court stable so that we're changing as few things as possible. You feel me?
Yeah.
Neil conducted his ritual out in Wallingford.
Yeah, successfully.
So we're ready, as far as I could tell. So we're ready to start hunting down Cynthia whenever we're ready.
How was he doing after he saw his haven?
It was kind of like, reminded me of you after Marcos. But you seem to tire yourself out. I think if I had let him go, he would have gone on till morning, torpid himself.
I had destroyed the thing. The rest of that was a release. I was more in control.
I think Neil blamed the entire neighborhood for what happened to his haven. I'd be careful about bringing him anywhere close to there.
Noted.
I'll put out word that I want to rant. I don't know when that can happen. And I'll talk to Neil about steps to trying to find Cynthia.
Right. And then
having good news to deliver to the Gemini League after the deed, like a successful raid upon the Sabbat, will be a good way to establish your praxis on a good foot.
That was my thought also. See if you can... I know Wynn has been tracking them. See if we can't figure out about getting Jane back. If we can manage it in this period. I know there's a lot going on. So... But
it's going to make the rant a whole lot harder without her.
Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. Britta Ashcroft the Toreador was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabbey. Miles Davenport the Ventrue was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode was edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was January Grunge Love Fest by Technoaxe. Visit them online at technoaxe.com. Path of Night uses the 20th anniversary edition rule set of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade is owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Path of Night Pod, on Facebook at facebook.com/Path of Night Podcast, or email us at pathofnightpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time, Kindred.
You okay?
You're alone in a car with Miles. He's frustrated and turned and like, if you want to learn how to smash properly, let me know.
Oh, the fan base is going to love that.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
You look
stop
stressed, Miles.
Get
That was going to occur, and I'd rather it occurred not during you trying to talk.
Fan art now, please.
Yep. All right. You got it out?
Do not draw us. Do not draw a sensual tussle between Miles and Johnny. Please
That
don't do
feels-
that.
Oh, we'd hate that. We'd
It'd
hate to
be
see a
awful.
lot of fan art of Miles and Johnny. Johnny teaching Miles how to wrestle.
Bonus points if they're in a tree.
that's an in-joke. That's
That's from...
So are they Giles or money?
Money.
Oh, they gotta be money.
I always find that it helps to grease up a little bit when you're learning how to grapple, because it makes it a little bit more difficult to really get a hold. You
like
know?
a Greco-Roman style.
Lubricate the
Yeah,
action.
you got it. Maybe we'll get some like nice olive oil and just kind of drizzle it.
I assume it would be Saxon port, but money's really good.
How is Wynn the horny one?
Well, she is. So
Well,
I know.
let's-
I'm not fighting.
Let's back that up and just make sure everyone's
No.
on the same page here.
We know what we
You,
are.
you realize that we're sitting on either side of you, so what it actually is that your horniness is like
It's off the charts.
it's like radioactive.
It's slowly getting around the whole
absolutely.
It's coming.
So, Miles, if you ever learn how to properly smash, I'm right here, buddy.
table. All right, fuck. Where were we in the actual scene? What were you guys
That's
doing?
where we were.